there, everyone. Dave Barlow here with the gang from Sell for 1% plus Rich. Every time I want to say, I just want to do it normal. Hey, everybody, this is Dave Barlow with Sell for 1% Realtors with the gang from Sell for 1%, and we got Rich Sircone. How's that?
That's great, Dave.
All
that
right,
was perfect.
Good. And so, I'm not going to get beat up by my wife this week.
It's taken weeks to get this far,
Sircone.
guys.
We're talking interest rates, and there's no laughing matter about interest rates, is there, Rich?
No, it's a very serious matter, I'll tell you.
It's a bloodbath.
Yeah, getting crazy out there. So you were talking a little bit earlier. We had a couple of government reports come in. They were worse than maybe what they were anticipated, but that is actually good for the market, supposedly.
That's good news for interest rates. Bad news for the economy is good news for interest rates. So we had three big numbers here since the last time we talked. We had the unemployment numbers on Friday of last week. They came in with less job growth than was expected. So that was a positive number for interest rates. And then CPI, which is Consumer Price Index, was yesterday. PPI, which is Producer Price Index, was today. They were both tamer in terms of inflation than what the markets had anticipated. So all of that is good news, at least conceptually, for interest rates. Now, and if you ask me what the 30-year fixed rate is, it's pretty much still at this moment as I sit here, the same as it was last week, around 6.375. So we haven't seen a big move down on the 30-year fixed rate in reaction to this number. And I guess maybe the main reason might be that the markets either had it baked in to some extent, or that they are waiting to see how the Fed reacts to this at their next meeting. And I think that maybe that might be the second thing, might be the more cogent idea, because they don't really know what the Fed is thinking right now. And so that's going to be very important to hear what Jay Powell says after his meeting.
So I guess the real question, though, is does anybody know what the Fed is really thinking?
I'm not sure if they know.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's like this is just
they've been pretty clear with what they're trying to do. And so, we'll see what, I'm watching gas prices go back up. And it's like, well, if gas prices are going up, it's like writing's kind of on the wall that everything's going to be going up. And then it's going to be, well, inflation's still high. And so, the only tool we have as the Fed is to raise rates. And their goal is what? To get inflation between a certain percentage. But right now they're trying to drain some money out of the economy. And then, banks start failing. We start putting money back in. So it's like, I don't know, to your guys' point, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Well, I think the numbers that have just come out are indicating that inflation is subsiding some. And I don't know that gas prices are tied directly to the inflation rate right now. I think that maybe gas prices are more tied to OPEC limiting oil and us shutting off our own oil reserves and that kind of stuff. Because again, at least what I'm hearing is that inflation is kind of holding. Is that correct, Rich?
Inflation is not as heated as it was post-COVID. We had huge spikes in inflation right after COVID was started to wane. But the inflation has cooled down quite a bit. The high level was June of 2022. That was, again, when everything kind of really opened up, and we saw a big spike in inflation, much lower now than it was then. But The Fed is always concerned about that dual mandate of keeping inflation under a certain number and keeping employment up at the same time. So there's a counterbalance between those two things. They don't want to raise so much that they squelch business and everybody loses their job, but they don't want to encourage growth so much that inflation increases and prices become unmanageable. So we've got a dual thing going on there. Yes.
And so the inflation rate that the Fed wants to get to, am I correct, around 2% thereabouts?
Yes.
Okay. And so interest rates from week to week, last week was around 6 3/8 thereabouts.
6. Yeah, and we're still there right now, Dave. That's kind of where we are.
And if everything just kind of stays the same, Rich, what do you think interest rates will they get back below 6%? We saw that, what, about a month ago they got down below 6%, and then they popped
they
back
temporarily in early February they got down, and it was only a day or so, and and then it popped back up again. A lot of people that I follow that are analysts with the market feel that we are going to see the Fed relent, and we are going to see mortgage rates get back down in the 5s. There is that feeling that could happen sometime in the next few months, and then maybe continue on for the remainder of 23 and into 24. But then there's an equal number of people who think, as Jason was saying earlier, that hey, inflation's still a problem, and the Fed's not going anywhere with this.
Okay.
So it's anybody's guess.
I guess interest rates in the next 6 months will be 2.78. That's my guess.
On that, yes.
Dad's got some bad guesses on record.
Yeah, we're gonna keep this recording for future use.
Well, we were talking, with you guys, you bankers, back in November when interest rates were peaking at 7.5%, and I remember very clearly that Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae were predicting that we'd be back down into the low 5s, high 4s, 6 months ago. And so I think my guess has just as good a chance as their guesses.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
It's kind of throwing the dart at the board and seeing where it lands.
It's like that monkey that picks, the final, Elite 8 by just throwing darts, and, whatever team they hit on the dartboard, that's who's going to make it. And this year was kind of true.
I mean, I think with, an election coming up, here soon, that you'll have rates that, will come back to earth. Usually gas prices, everything come down around then, which will be some nice relief. But, we'll see where everything goes here. I mean, things that are not priced in are things like, the dollar all of a sudden losing reserve status, or World War III starting. I mean, none of that is baked in. And so I know that's, some doomer type talk, but, things outside of Columbus, Ohio, and outside of the United States will impact our market more than supply and demand will right now. And so hopefully people come to their senses and, cooler heads prevail and things get back on track here.
Yeah. There's a lot of geopolitical and macroeconomic things that are floating around out there, as you referenced, that, we have no control over this. But
we're just on for the ride.
Yeah.
I've got my ticket for the bus. Let me on, please.
Yeah.
All right, Rich. Well, thank you for the insight. Appreciate the information. Always good stuff as usual. And Rich's information, if you have any questions about home loans or any of that interest rate stuff, give Rich a call. I'm sure that he'd be more than happy to talk to you about that. All right, guys.
Happy to be here, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.